You've been lied to about resilience. Many people in the DBD community will tell you that resilience is a good chase perk. However, today I'm going to prove to you that it barely has any effect in chase. Now, let me clarify right off the bat that I think resilience is a good perk overall. You can run it with pretty much any build, throw it in there, and it'll tie the whole build together because it helps you do generators faster and healing and opening exit gates and stuff like that. However, resilience is quite a strange perk. It has a set percentage, that being 9%, on things with varying durations. So, for example, it's going to have a greater effect on generators since they take 90 seconds than healing, which takes 16 seconds. It's going to save you more time with generators. Now comes to the part where it's used in chase. So, resilience helps you vault 9% faster, and many people have said that this is a good reason to run it with perks like Made for This, so that you're able to loop the killer for a longer time since it helps you vault faster. However, I'm going to argue that this 9% is almost nothing and makes the difference a lot less than you think it does. So if you do the math, resilience saves you around 0.05 seconds from a fast vault. Now, while this isn't a lot, anyone that thinks resilience is good in chase would argue that that 0.05 might be enough for the killer to not hit you. However, I'm going to show you just how unlikely this is. In 0.05 seconds, the killer will travel about a third of a meter, which is such a small amount, which means that they would have to lunge a third of a meter sooner so they could catch you in a fast vault. So, hypothetically speaking, if you wanted to make a killer perk to counter resilience, you would need a perk that would make the killers lunge 5% longer. Imagine coup de grace, but it makes you lunge 5% longer. That's enough to counter resilience. That is in terms of a fast vault. Now, someone might make the point that, well, it might have a bigger effect on medium vaults since it takes longer, so the percentage effect would have a greater effect. However, again, it's really still not that much. So resilience saves you about 0.08 seconds on a medium vault compared to a 0.05 of a fast vault. Instead of killers having to lunge a third of a meter sooner, they have to lunge half a meter sooner. And that takes about a tenth of a second of just walking, again, not even lunging. But to make this even worse for survivors, medium vaults are really inconsistent, since sure, they take about 0.9 seconds to vault, but their hitbox is stuck after the vault for quite a long time. I'm not sure if this is intentional, but this is just the case in the current game right now. So now that you know just how little killers need to walk to make up for resilience, you know that it's actually not that good in chase. And you could argue that, well, those milliseconds might be enough for the killer to miss. This part of the perk is very black and white. For example, if you're working on a generator with resilience, you are always gaining value from it since you always have that 9%. When it comes down to a vault, you only get value if the killer misses. And as I just showed you, that is super unlikely. Now, if you still think resilience is good, let me compare it with another chase perk. Now, you might say this is an unfair comparison because MFT is a lot better in chase than resilience, but just hear me out. A survivor with a 12-meter lead in front of a killer will take the killer about 20 seconds to catch up. With Made for This, this becomes 24 seconds. If you don't know what Made for This does, it makes you run 3% faster while injured. So you might say, well, the math doesn't check out here. Shouldn't the number be a lot less since 20 to 24 is much more than 3%, and actually no. The average killer can move at 115%, and since MFT moves you up 3% from the survivor's 100%, you are about a fifth closer, and since 20 to 24 is a fifth more, the math checks out here. Now, saving 4 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but this is worst case scenario. This is assuming you're running in a straight line. When it comes down to loops, survivors actually gain even more distance because they have a smaller hitbox and they're in third person, making it a lot easier for them to hug the corners a lot tighter, meaning they gain even more value from MFT. Killers have a larger hitbox, are in first person, so they can't hug the corners quite as tightly. And that's just the 115 killers. You want to talk about a hag with no traps or a huntress with no hatchets, it goes from them taking 30 seconds for 12 meters to 42, which is just insane. And what if a huntress is at a loop that she can't shoot over, or a deathslinger, or a trickster? It becomes even stronger. So I think it's not even close between resilience and MFT. I would argue that you probably get value from resilience once every 5 or even 10 games, and it's probably just a placebo effect because the perk tells you that you can vault faster. So if you make a vault, you're like, oh, thank God for resilience, but in reality, it's It's just you thinking that you vaulted faster because of resilience, even though it's only 9%. And same thing for killer, you might miss a vault and then check the post-game loadouts and see that they had resilience and you're like, makes sense, they vaulted. It seemed like they were vaulting a lot faster. So if you disagree, let me know why in the comments, because I really think 9% on half a second or 0.9 seconds is just so little that it's really not making a difference. But if you disagree, I'm open to listen, and I'll check